Okay. We got turnover in there. Who's gonna cut the grass? You gonna cut the grass? Like, what's this? Like, who you gonna use a company to cut the grass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're probably gonna charge you. The property size maybe $500 a month, something like that. $500 a month.
How much?
I'm just guessing, like $500 a month, like $250 a cut, just something like that. You don't need to do any advertising here. You don't need no payroll. You don't really need any G&A. I'll put something in here for legal. Let's just say you gotta like one person a year. That'll be about 1,000. There's no gas. There's no common area electric. Trash removal is already in there. Contracted services. Let's do some pest control. You're gonna do like pest control, right? Or no? I'll just put 150 a month for pest control, so 1,800. Cool. All righty. Okay. I'll just do 3% closing costs. Property like this is 86 vintage, 100% occupied, fully renovated. I think it'd be fair to say we should allocate about $5,000 to $6,000 a unit, something like that. Probably work. $5,000 to $6,000 a unit. So right now we just putting in like a budget for interiors, like when you have, your units, like if someone moves out. So you budgeted $60,000 for that. And for exterior upgrades, I hadn't really seen anything on the property to be upgraded on the exterior, but we'll just put in an additional like $12,000 for exterior. Just put miscellaneous repairs. Okay. Good to have an operating reserve. Let's just do 4 months of your expenses. 4,9,896 divided by 12. 4. So we'll do 4 months expenses for the operating reserve there. That'll be 16,632. And upfront tax amendment and insurance holdback, so we don't have to pay that. This off. Taxes, insurance, 7,200 is insurance and real estate taxes. About 10,000, 17,200 there. All right, so we should have everything we need now. Just as far as like assumptions and everything to go ahead and see how this thing looks. a, so for debt, we'll just try, we'll do like a local bank assumption real quick. So we'll say a local bank could do like 20-year no IO. Right now, probably around 5.5% for the interest rate. And I was saying about 35% down. So between 35 to 45% down for the purchase price. So they probably will lend you like 65% LTV. That looks good. It's a 5-year hold. We'll start with a 6 cap. 6, 12 to 12. Yeah, I mean, at 1.6 million, I mean, you can kind of see like the returns aren't really there, and this is like almost like a best case scenario right here. And just giving you an idea as far as money, you'd probably be looking at out of pocket like 713,000 if you go in with like a local bank, because they're gonna fund you. They're gonna fund 75% of the purchase price, and then you're gonna have to fund the rest of it. So you can see, the down payment that you have to pay is around 560,000, and then your closing costs, I have it at 48,000 or 3%, and then I have the rehab and capex budget at 72,000. So we allocated about $5,000 a unit for your interior renovations, and then we put 12,000. This is a placeholder for exterior, so we just have about like 72,000 for your rehab budget on it, and then about $33,832 for anything for paying your insurance and your taxes up front that you're gonna have to do, and then I just put about 16,000 for 4 months of operating expenses as a reserve for you, just in case something goes wrong, like during the whole period. So, I mean, you're looking at about like $713K out of pocket to close the deal at 1.6 million purchase price. If you were to go with like a local bank, and you can kind of see, I mean, the returns are in the negative, like you ain't really getting good returns. But like if you were to, just for the purpose of this example, with our assumptions, if you were to go to like, let's just say 1.3 million on a purchase price,
Yeah,
that's still kind of tough. You see, I mean, the cash flow is break even to negative.
yeah,
I mean, it's a tough deal. Unless you could just get the rents up higher than what I'm assuming. So it's like if you can go up on the rents a little bit more. So right now I'm saying like you can get 950 on the rents right now. But what if we were able to get like 1,200, right? So let's try that out. We were to get 1,200 on the rents. 865, 864, 58. 167, 71.
it's a lot.
Okay, so we just assuming we can get $1,200 on the rent, which is pretty high. 10% vacancy. Have your real estate taxes at 10K. Insurance at 7,200, which is normal for property size. Contracting services 1,800. Water and sewer the same. And about 1,000 for legal. 8% for property management fee. Repairs and maintenance of 4 and 6, and then grounds maintenance at $500, $6,000 a year. Yeah, I mean, this was pretty. I haven't really gone out of control with this. I mean, you can probably knock off $600 off the capex. We could probably just do that just to see what we get. All right, so let's see how it looks now.
Okay,
Okay, so it's a little bit better. If you can get, so these are the returns I look for. I like to see a 14% IRR. I like to see a 6 to 7% cash on cash. I like to see anywhere between a 15 and an 18% average annualized return. I like to see anywhere between a 1.7x to 2x equity multiple. So if you just use these as a basis, you see, I mean, these are pretty solid returns here. You have a 15% internal rate of return, 6% cash on cash, 19% average annualized return, and 2x equity multiple, assuming that in 5 years you could sell this deal for $2 million, 167K a unit. I mean, that's, I mean, that's pretty high. I mean, I don't know what type of area this is, if it's an A class, B class, C class area, but I mean, for Birmingham, 167K is like a class, area to get up to that. So I mean, I mean, the good thing about it is the property is newer, is an 86 build, so it's almost 1990s build. So that may be doable. But I would just say, for safety purposes, let's just see how it looks like on a 7 cap. I think that's more realistic.
I was thinking about starting my offer out at 1.1.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to get accepted at that, so it's like, the purpose of underwriting is to see how close you can get to the offer, right? Because I
Yeah,
mean, the thing is, multifamily real estate right now is not really being sold based off of actuals, like what the property is actually doing. It really
Yeah.
gets sold based off of pro forma, or what that means is projection, so projected income, right? So
Oh,
so to be competitive on something like this,
yeah.
you are going to have to assume that you can do some value add to the property, whether that be
Okay.
increasing rents, increasing the curb appeal of it, overall, like, adding value to it. So with that being said, our goal is to try to see how close we can get to this asking price and have
Okay.
it still make sense for us, right?
Okay.
So I have a 7 cap for the sale cap. I think that's fair. 143K a unit, I think, is a fair sale price.
Okay.
We currently have it at 133K a unit. So, we saying we can get up to like 143, on sale. So I mean, it is tight at this, you know. But I mean, it kind of works at 1.3 million, assuming that you could get this type of debt. So I'm assuming like a local bank will lend you 65% of the purchase, and you would have to fund out 100% of the rehab, right? And then they'll do a 20-year. This is like a local bank scenario, because the thing is, this loan amount you have is just too low to attract like agency debt, which is like a little bit better debt. But I mean, the deal is too small to do that. So your best bets here is going to be either a bridge option or a bank option. So this is your bank option right here. So I'd say, I'll just put some notes here for you. So bank option would be 35% down payment, 5.5% rate, 0% interest only, and amortization, 20-year. All right, so that's your bank option right there. And then we can run a bridge option and see how that would look. So bridge would probably fund 100% of your rehab. You're probably gonna have full-term IO. I would say 30-year amortized, but the rate is gonna be higher. So your rate is probably gonna be, right now, I'd say on a property this size, probably 7.5 at best. And then your down payment will probably be the same, but 35%. So you see, on this option, it would actually be a little bit a lot better for you. Like if you were to find like a bridge loan, because instead of having like remember, I think we said 700 or 800K out of pocket, now you're down to 527 because
Oh, yeah,
they're funding 100% of your rehab.
yeah, yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So you have a lot less out of pocket with the bridge option,
yeah,
and your returns look pretty decent, all things considered. Because I mean, right now you have like a 12% internal rate of return, 6% cash on cash, 13% average annualized, and 1.6 equity multiple. So you're a little bit lower than like what the target metrics are,
yeah,
but I mean, it's close enough to maybe consider doing the deal. If you were to do it like that. So your bridge option, let's go back to stabilize. So you see, this is to show you the difference. The stabilize option, you're paying about 600K out of pocket, and then with the bridge option, you're paying about 527
527.
out of pocket. So that would be the difference. And then
Okay.
you see your returns on the bridge option. You got a 11.96, 6.22, 13.43, and 1.67 is bridge. Bridge. Let's go. Okay, there we go. And bank. The bank would be. See, your returns are better with the bank option, but you gotta take out is more out of pocket. You have to pay more.
Right.
That's the only thing. Let's see what it looks like at 40%. 40%. Yeah, so for this deal, I don't know, like how much were you expecting to put down on the property?
I have between 30 and 40,000.
30 and 40,000. Okay, so on a deal like this, because of the price, you see, like this example I'm running it at 1.3 million, not even the 1.6.
Yeah,
But it's just where banks are right now, that they're not going to lend you 100%, 90% of the loan. They're probably going to lend you between, it's fair to say, in today's market, about 65%. This would probably be the best you can do with a bank right now. 30%, I mean, that'll really be pushing it. I wouldn't advise that. I would say to underwrite for 35% leverage, rates at 5.5, and then the amortization at 20. So you would be looking like for a property this size, 12 units, so $1.6 million deal. So I mean, it's not a small deal here. Like we're talking about, because they want so much for it per unit, you're talking about a pretty expensive deal. So you see, the price that the example I'm running is 100K a unit. To put that in perspective for you, the last deal we bought last year was 60K a unit. It was a 48 unit apartment complex, and it was 2.88 million. That was 60K a unit, right? The deal that we're buying right now is a B plus area, really nice property, 100% occupied, great submarket. We buying that for 87K a unit. So you see on this particular deal, and I don't really know what the market's like. I don't really know, how nice the market is, but they want 133K a unit for it. So if this property isn't in a really desirable area, that's a problem right there. I would say even at that $1.3 million scenario that we have, it's still pretty tight there. That's still 100K a unit. I mean, the returns are okay, but this is just high level underwriting. Like we need to figure out how much taxes actually are, how much insurance actually is, how much it's going to cost for pest control. This number should be fine. I have $1,000 a year in legal, so it's just assuming you have to evict one person a year. I think that's a fair assumption. That's not too aggressive. An eviction is usually going to cost, about $1,000 for the full term of the eviction. That's from start to finish, about $1,000, at least in Birmingham, that is. So I'm just assuming you may have to put one person out a year, and it may be eviction, right? So that's not too bad. I have the management fee at 8%. That's fair for a property this size. You're not going to get 3% or 5% on this size because it's too small. So it's probably going to be around 8% management fee. Repairs and maintenance, I have it at $4,800 a year. which is, I mean, it's pretty low. I mean, it's only $400 a month in maintenance. I have your grounds payment at $500 a month. So that's saying you find a lawn care guy that's charging you $250 per cut. And then I just have your turnover at $2,400 a year. So assuming that, you spending, $2,400 a year to turn a unit. So that's basically one unit a year. But the good thing about it is I put something in here for a rehab budget. So you wouldn't really be paying for your rehab, like your turnover out of the operating expenses too much. You'd really be paying for it here. You have a budget of $60,000 for turnover over the course of 5 years. So that's a fair budget. So that's assuming that every time you renovate a unit is going to be around like $5,000 a unit, something like that. So I think this is a fair assumption right here. Like for a unit turn, I wouldn't really suggest going much lower than that. I think 60,000 is a fair amount to keep you out of trouble on a property like this. I also have it budgeted for you to pay the first year of taxes and insurance up front, because that's usually what the lender would need from you at closing, to pay your insurance premium and your taxes. And I just have like a rainy day fund here in case something goes wrong, like $16,000. So it ain't really too much. So I mean, the assumptions are pretty honest. Like, I mean, they're not too aggressive. But it's still pretty tough. I would tap out at like, well, first off, you want to talk to a bank and see what terms they're offering you. But it doesn't look like you're going to be able to get to that 1.6 that they're asking for. Unless, look, and this is assuming that you can get rents up to $1,200, right? This is $1,200 of rent. So we really need to know, like, how much can we actually rent these units for?
Yeah.
Because at $1,200, it's not making sense, unless we go down on price to like 1.3 million. Then it kind of is looking okay. Like you kind of make some decent returns at that point. But at 1.6, you would have to get your rents probably close to $1,500 to $1,600. And I don't think this area can support that. I mean, you can correct me. I don't think this area can support that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, if the rents here, the rents on property right now have an average of $865. We're already assuming that we can go up on rents another $335. I mean, at this point, this is even aggressive here to say $1,200. So I would say that, your action steps on this would probably be to reach out to a bank, either Bridge or local, to figure out the terms of the loan, right? And also you need to find rent comps in the area for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom property, because that's going to tell you, like, okay, what you can really assume as far as your rents. So these would be the action steps for me. And then maybe just asking the broker, is the seller set on 1.6 million, or is there room to negotiate? I would just say, is there wiggle room? Is there any wiggle room with the price? And then also you need to figure out, how are you going to fund the deal? You see what I'm saying? So so here's the thing. So you say you have about 40K saved up, right? So the rule is usually, if you're going to buy a property, whatever you have saved up, you could probably afford, if you're the only person funding the deal, about four times what your savings are, right? So your budget, if you're trying to put in 40K, is probably going to be a deal around $200,000. That's going to be 200,000. That's going to be your tap out point. That's going to be your tap out point, because you have $40,000 to put down. You get what I'm saying? Like, so about 5 times that, I'm being generous, is about 200K. right? So that's just put in perspective. That's probably going to be like the size of deal that you need to look for with that budget. Now, if you had $250,000 of savings, then I would say potentially going after a deal that's 4 times that amount. So more, probably about $1 million deal if you had $250,000 of savings. Because and how I'm getting to those numbers is the bank is going to want you to put down 30 to 45% of the deal. I'm just saying 35 is fair for today's market. So they're going to want you to put down 35%, of the purchase price,
So
right?
you said 250 is $1 million deal?
So
Because,
yeah, I mean, roughly, because roughly. So at 250, see, that's even being generous right there. You see what I'm saying? So it's probably less.
Yeah.
Probably less. It's 250 could probably get you a 750K deal, realistically, 250 after closing costs and everything, about a 750K deal. You see how I'm getting to that point? So let me just do some math for you. Okay, so look, $750,000 deal, right? A bank is going to want you to put down 35%. See, that's how I'm getting that.
35, yeah, okay, so 35% of,
So yeah, let's just do some quick math. So we'll just assume 30. So I'll say, okay, yeah. So this is your table right here. So this, I'll say buying assumptions. So let's just look at what I have right here. Okay, on a deal size of $750,000, a bank is going to want you, and I'm being generous, about 30% of the purchase price is what they want you to put down, right? So at $250,000 saved, you could probably go ahead and do a, see how we working it out, 850. You could probably do about an $850,000 deal at about 255,000 savings. Now keep in mind, this is just a down payment. You still have to have reserves for rehab and everything like that. So this is assuming that you went with a bridge loan, they funded 100% of your rehab, and then the bank wanted you to pay for 30% of the purchase price. Unless you're doing a hard money loan. Okay. If you're doing a hard money loan now, that's a different scenario. They'll fund you probably like 80% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab if you're doing hard money. But then you're going to be paying double digits in interest rates. Like when I had my hard money loan, my 36-unit deal, I think at the time I was paying like 12 to 14% interest. And this was in 2019. Interest rates have went up higher. So you're probably looking at 15 to 17% on hard money right now. So it means like you gotta have to have money in savings to pay for that interest until you can refinance.
right,
But this isn't really a hard money deal because it's stabilized, right? I mean, like, it's stabilized and you're paying a lot of money for it. So I wouldn't really recommend a hard money deal on a loan like this, because look, what if your loan amount is 845,000? If you paid 15% interest on that, that's $126,000 a year. That's $10,000 a month. This property is only cash flowing about $126,000 I'm sorry. This property is only cash flowing about 86,000 a year, but your mortgage payment on hard money would be 126,000. So you're going to be in a negative if you do hard money on a deal like that. Because your loan amount is too high and the interest rate is too high.
yeah,
So the most viable options on a deal like this is to go with a local bank or go bridge, right? That would be the only, remember, and you see these are returns for bridge and bank right here. Those are your returns. And this is how it looks like in the model. Your bridge option is 7.5%. and you'll be putting out like about 527 on the bridge, and they'll be funding 100% of your rehab.
No.
You see what I'm saying? So your total loan amount on the bridge would be 917K, because they would be remember the purchase price is 1.3, and they'll be funding the rehab for you and a larger amount of the purchase price, like 35%. So I think we should just go back to this. So, the main thing is you got to have the money to close, right? You have to have the money to close. At a $1.6 million deal, at best, you're looking at, you're going to have about a $480,000 in savings for a deal that size, to close it. That's being generous. That's at 30%. Okay, so that can either come from friends and family. I mean, you can put together like you see, like the deal that we're buying. We're gonna have about 40 something investors, and we're buying a $3.5 million deal. Our raise is about 2 million. So we have about like 35 investors. But for you to attract that much people, you have to have a solid track record of success, right? So my partner has bought and closed on 450 apartments. I've bought and closed on 231 apartments, right? So it's like when you have a track record, it's easier for you to, bring in people because they feel confident in your ability to operate the deal. When you don't have a track record, it's difficult to raise capital because people are going to want to know what's your past experience, right? So
Yeah.
I would start with family and friends, right? You within your inner circle, you may know 5 people that all have $50,000 to invest, right? If you can find 5 people with $50,000 to invest, that's $250,000. You see what I'm saying? At $250,000, y'all could probably afford a deal that's about 750K to 800K, something like that. 5 people, including yourself, at 50K, you can find 5 people. Y'all can buy a 800K deal, right? But like with this one, it's gonna be challenging if you don't have the savings because it's 1.6 million that they want. Even at 1.3 million, let's say we were to go with our number that worked, that's still 400K. You see what I'm saying? That's still 400K. Even with the bridge option, you see with the bridge option, after reserves and everything is 527. So at best, I'm saying 400K to 527. That's the range that you're gonna need to close the deal this size. You see how I'm getting these numbers? Is it making sense?
Wow. Yeah.
You see how I'm getting these numbers? I'm not making this I'm just going off of basic assumptions that what a bank would lend right now. The bank is gonna lend 35 to 45%. I'm going with the low number just for example.
Okay.
This is a bridge option. They'll be funding 100% of the rehab. You still have closing costs and everything. So you're gonna have to on this particular deal, you have to find 527K. If you don't have that, I mean, at the lowest it'd be 400K, but at that point, you ain't really in a good position because what are you gonna do if a unit costs $10,000 to repair or 5? Let's say you have 3 units and each of those units are vacant and they cost you $3,000 to repair. You're gonna have to come up with $9,000 from somewhere. So that's either gonna be from a credit card. Someone's gonna have to find that money. So this is like the lowest end number I'm talking about here. This is like the minimum you would need to close a deal this size. It's 390K.
Yeah, that's the 1.3.
This is we just using this 12 unit deal that we're looking at right now. Is you're gonna be hard pressed to close this thing if you don't have 400K, or if you can't bring together a group of people that have 400K. It's gonna be tough. Unless you do hard money. Even at hard money, you're probably gonna need like 200K to 250K. You see what I'm saying? I mean, these 7-figure deals we talk about, like these ain't small deals. Like these pretty expensive deals, Like let me put it in perspective for you. My first 36 unit deal was 400K. Right? That was the purchase price. But it was a lot of work that we had to put into it. I had to put in, I had to renovate 20 units, like full gut rehab 20 units, right? But because of the purchase price at 400K, we were able to afford it, because it was like 150K down to get into the deal.
So you had investors?
It was my money, my mom money, and my aunt's money. We all put in about 50K each.
Okay.
That's how we did it. So that's why I was like recommending to you, like if you know 3 to 5 people that can come in with you, like family or close friends, y'all can pool y'all money together and buy a deal, you know? So that's what you're looking at. Like, and that was a deal that was 400K. I can't find a deal like that no more in the market. It doesn't exist. That was back in 2019. The price on everything is up right now. So it's like,
Wow.
and on that deal, I had to do a lot of work. Facilities, it was a lot of work. I had to renovate, do a bunch of rehab, all that kind of stuff. And then, the appraised value is actually like 1.6. Now we have the property under contract for $1,650,000 to sell, which would be like a nice profit there if the guy actually decides to buy it. But that's just putting it in perspective. You see the dollar amounts there. Like my first like apartment complex was about 400K, right? And I still had to have about like 150K to put into it. You see where the math is coming in. So we talking about this deal is about $1 million more than my deal where I had to put in 150K. It's $1 million more than that. And I used hard money on that deal. That was hard money. They funded 100% of the rehab. So it was hard money, 100% of the rehab, 400K purchase price. I still had to come out of pocket 150K. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I was like, okay,
Wow.
maybe we need to look for a smaller deal if you want to kind of do it in-house. Maybe we need to go down to a 250K deal or a 200K deal, Maybe that's what this first deal needs to look like, to get it done. Maybe it needs a 200K.
From there, I could probably go bigger.
Yeah. So maybe it's a duplex or a triplex.
I don't want to do that, but okay.
I mean, so we got to go through options, okay? So
Yeah.
if we ain't doing a duplex or a 4-unit or a triplex, then we need to start
4-unit.
Huh? See?
I have a 4-unit in Greenville.
Uh-huh. Give me one second. I'm here. Let me just close my door real quick.
I'm actually waiting, but it's a 4-unit, but it's $899.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean you have a 4-unit that you're looking at?
Yeah, this young lady, she sent it to me today. It's $899.9.
So just call it 900K.
Huh?
I say just call it 900K. So you see about 270 to 250-ish, and that don't all have to come from you. I mean, you could find, like I was saying, if you find in a couple investors. So let's just do some examples right here, right? So let's say you have a 55. Let's just do some quick examples. Okay. So now, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's say we had so this is what it's going to look like. So it may be investor A, investor B, investor C, investor D, investor E, investor F. So I mean, you may know a couple of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may know 6 people, right? 6 investors, right? And it may be people that have anywhere from 25K to 50K that they can put into this deal, right? You may be one of these people, right? So you may be the 40K investor. But let's say you could find 5 more people that can put in 25K, 50K, 20K, 50K, 25K. Let's say it's family members, right? Then y'all can come together and have about 210K to purchase a 900K deal. You see what I'm saying? Or it may be, you at 400K and you finding 2 other people at 100K. That may be what it is,
Yeah.
Like what if you have like someone in your family that's like they have a lot of money saved up, maybe have like a doctor or corporate or something like that, like someone that make a good amount of money and may have saved some money. It may be you and 2 people.
Yeah.
That's close to what you need. It ain't exactly what you need, but it's close. It's closer, So it may be 3 to 4 people you can find. Like for me, on my first one, it was me at about 55. It was my mom. It was my aunt. That's how we bought a 36 unit deal. The down payment was 145K. We had a little bit of money to put aside just in case anything went wrong during the rehab and everything. But they funded 100% of the rehab. So our rehab budget was 353K. That's how much was rehab, but they funded 100% of that. So we were able to just
And
take that.
do a lot of work.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of work, a ton of work. But I'm full-time real estate, so I was showing up like every other day, and when I bought the property, it was like 20% occupied.
Oh.
We had to gut and renovate like 20 units. It was supposed to take a year. It took 2 years. That was my first like heavy lift value add project. I learned a lot from it, had to fire the first contractor. The second contractor got us through the project, but it still was a challenge. I had to show up every day and keep them accountable. So it was a lot of work, but it was worth it. That one deal put me to accredited investor status. I mean, it took my net worth from less than $1 million to over $1 million. So I mean, look back on that. Was all of that worth it? Yeah, it was for me. But it's like if I wasn't doing this full time,
absolutely,
who was going to show up every day? I live here, so it's easy for me to just drive to the site.
Exactly.
And this is my full time job, so it's like I'm showing up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the morning when everyone get to work, and in the evening to make sure everything went well before they left. And I had to do that because contractors shiesty. Like you got to be on them. Like if you just let a contractor just do his thing, especially when you're talking about a 6-figure project. When you talk about a project that's almost $400,000, you want to make sure that your money is safe. So you got to be on them, making sure they're on the job, making sure they're doing what they need to do. Because very easily, if you try to do it remote, they could be doing whatever the hell they want with that money, and you wouldn't really be able to figure. So that's why it's important to have someone here, right? And that was my first like big rehab project. But since then, I haven't bought any projects that need that much work. We've been buying projects like this one you're looking at, where it's 100% occupied. We get it at a good price. So you see, the last one we bought at 60K a unit, really good price. The one we buy right now is 87K a unit. But you see, like what they trying to sell you, it's like this 133K, and the rent's about the same on these last 2 deals we bought. So it's just like maybe this is not a deal. Maybe you have to like really find like an off-market deal and find like a motivated seller.
Yeah, I've been trying to find an off-market deal because I know that'll suit me better as well.
Yeah.
But I guess we just gotta keep on looking and be patient as well.
Yeah. So that's what it's gonna take. So either finding investors, right? Or, figuring out, just sucking like, maybe it is gonna be a 200K to 250K deal in Montgomery, but you own it 100%.
Yeah.
You own it 100%,
Yeah.
I still have my small properties, even though I have a 48 unit apartment complex closing on the 40 right now. I have a 36 unit apartment complex. You know, I mean, I still have my fourplex on my duplex. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know,
Yeah,
they good properties for me. One is almost paid off. One is paid off completely. It's just straight cash flow. So, so I mean, I'm not saying you got to do that, but with the budget you got, this is what the deal is going to look like. Unless you can go out and find some people that can come in with you, then that changes. Then you can go from a 200K deal to a 900K deal. And
yeah,
if we doing some math, let's just say you was able to find a 900K deal at 660K a unit. You can buy about a 15 unit deal. You see how I got that? 900K deal. That's what your down payment is going to be. And let's say we were able to find a deal at like 60K a unit, right? That's a 15 unit deal that you could buy. A group of like 3 to 5 investors, including yourself, a 900K deal. And if you could find a good deal at 60K a unit or 70K a unit, you could get anywhere between like a 12 unit deal to a 15 unit deal. Right? But you may have to go in a rough area, or you may have to find a really motivated seller. That's what it's going to look like. So it's going to be maybe instead of a nicer area like this, it may be a dodgy area where you gotta dodge. But you in a deal and you're making the money, but it's a dodgy area. So, but it's a 15 unit deal in a dodgy area, and you may buy this deal for like it may be a story like my deal. Like my deal is that's the dodgy area where my 36 unit is. I bought it for 400K. But I just to me it was like, okay, buy this deal and have the potential to increase my money like 4x, or don't do it. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, let's go. Like, I don't have anything to lose right here.
That's right.
But not many people want to do that though, and I get it. I mean, it was a ton of work, like a ton of work.
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like. So you gotta go either in a rougher area, or a motivated seller. You can find a nice deal just like this one, with a seller that they may have just gone divorced, or it may have been a situation where someone died. It may have been an inherited property. It may be someone that just is old and tired of doing real estate. Mom and pop owner that just don't want to deal with it no more. I mean, you find a deal like that. That's really where you get your value, and that's where you can get like a good. But it takes time. You're gonna have to reach out to a lot of people to do that. But if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's how I feel. I'm not nothing special. If I could find a deal, anyone can find a deal. It just takes time. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sense? So yeah, I mean, for me, like this is how it's gonna look. This is one option. I mean, or you can like I don't think. Well, I think we already talked about this. He wasn't really looking to do anything passive, but I mean that is an option on the table. I mean, you could partner up and like buy an apartment complex with someone. Like everyone that's coming in with us on our deal, they have anywhere from 40K, 25K, 50K, 100K in the deal, and they're owning this apartment complex. And our goal is to double their money in 3 to 5 years. So they turn a 50K investment to 100K, a 100K investment to 200K. So I mean, that may be something to consider. That's on the table for you. So just putting all your options out there. You could partner up on like a larger apartment, like we buying a 40 unit. You could get it on a deal like that for like 25, 30, 40K. Or if that's not really a cup of tea right now and you want to kind of like go ahead and do like a deal in-house with your own stuff, with your own team, is either going to be a deal where you can raise about 250K. So you already see what that's going to look like. You're gonna find about like 3 to 4 people that got around like 50K. Y'all all come together, put your money up, and then go buy like a 15 unit deal yourself. Or if that's not your cup of tea, maybe just looking for maybe like a 225K deal, 200 to 225K deal in Montgomery or any other market. That would be kind of like in that budget, and that could look like a 2 unit deal, a 3 unit deal, and maybe it's you hold that deal for a bit, cash flow in that, and then sell it in like 3 years,
Yeah.
and then maybe turn that 60K to 160K, or that
How
60K
long are you holding the property that you, that
five
you,
5 years, 3 to 5 years. Yeah, it's a 3 to 5 year hold. So
okay,
we may sell it between years 3 and 5.
3 and 5?
Five
Oh,
is the tops. We selling it at 5. But
okay,
you see, I mean, it's the same concept. Like this deal, we're getting 82% returns, for our investors. Our returns went up because our insurance quote went down. So now it's at 82%. So if someone invested 100K in 3 to 5 years, we're gonna make them 182K through the cash flows and sales proceeds. So now they can probably go out and buy a bigger deal themselves or reinvest with us, right? So I have people that put it in 100K with the expectation that they're gonna get 182 to 200K back in 3 to 5 years. So then maybe for them, it's like, okay, I could go ahead and use that and buy a larger deal versus starting out smaller. Because the challenge, and I get it why you don't want to do it, because the challenge with like managing a small apartment complex out of state is you can't really find people to manage it because the revenue ain't really,
right,
the revenue is not really there to
it's
support
not there.
it.
I
You know,
did hear already, and that's kind of why I didn't really want to go backward.
it's
I
tough.
just didn't have enough, information or, somebody to talk to where I should have never sold it. My first building was a triplex.
Yeah.
And then I acquired a duplex,
Yes.
and I had a one door. So, but as time went on, I sold all of them. Now I'm looking back like, shouldn't have never sold them.
Mm,
Yeah, no matter what happened, I shouldn't have never sold them.
yeah.
And now I'm starting all over, but it's different from back then to now. So sometimes I'm like, how did I get these buildings by myself with one job? I
Yeah.
wasn't even a realtor at that
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, it's still possible. Like, so you just gotta adapt with the changes, right?
time. Yeah,
Like sometimes you just gotta change like your approach. So it's like you see what the approach is in today's market, with the prices being where they're at.
yeah,
You got to use that pretty smile of yours. You got to go ahead and start talking to people, like getting in front of people, like,
yeah,
hey, I'm looking to, I have a long, years of experience in real estate. I've owned a duplex and a triplex before, have experience managing them, taking them full cycle and selling them. I'm looking to get into larger apartments, whether it be between 10 and 15 units. And to do that, I'm looking at putting together a partnership group of maybe 3 to 5 people where we can all put our money together and we can buy a 10 to 15 unit deal. And this would be like legacy that we're building, for our family and everything like that, right?
yeah,
It's like you start talking to people about that. And then maybe, you find investor A, you find investor B, you find investor C, and then you invest the D, you put up your 40K. Now you in business. Now you have enough to where you could go ahead and start looking at some 900K deals.
yeah,
But that's what you're gonna have to do. So it's either, that's really what it boils down to, Solanise, is gonna be finding investors, buying a smaller deal, 200K, you already see 200K to 250K deal,
yeah,
uh, or or finding a larger deal in a rougher area, or finding a motivated seller. So I mean, like you have multiple options. You can find investors, get a nice deal, or you
yeah,
can get a deal in a rougher area that you could buy for a cheaper price, or finding a motivated seller, or like going and like just syndic like passively in a multifamily, like a large multi, and then you have the same result where if your plan was to hold the deal for 3 to 5 years, you can still make that same return, but then now you'll have more money in your piggy bank to go ahead and just buy a larger deal yourself if that's not your goal to start out here. So it's like you can
right,
go into a big deal, still have the same result, because we ain't holding these deals for super long. It's like 3 to 5 years. So like you
yeah,
hold the deal for a bit, then you may turn that 40K to 120K. Now you have more buying power, right? So you have multiple options here. You just need to figure out which one you want to do.
Yeah,
And what I'll do is I'll send you this so you can have it too.
okay.